Hello, and a very warm welcome. It's so wonderful to have you here with us tonight. As you settle in, take a moment to find your way to the comments and let us all know where in the world you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the sky. It is a constant source of quiet fascination to see this community gather, a silent assembly of curious minds from different continents and different time zones, all coming together in the shared stillness of the late hour. From bustling cities just dimming their lights to quiet countrysides, already deep in the embrace of night, we are all here together, looking up at the same vast darkness. Before our journey begins, allow yourself this moment to truly arrive. Perhaps you can dim the lights around you, letting your room soften into gentle shadows. Maybe you can turn on a fan, not for the breeze, but for that soft, steady hum, a simple sound to anchor you here, in this present moment of calm. As you make these small adjustments, creating your own peaceful space, I'll offer a gentle invitation. If you find value and comfort in our time together tonight, perhaps take a quiet second to like this documentary and subscribe to our channel. It is a small gesture, but it helps our community grow. There is no pressure at all, just a soft suggestion, if the feeling is right for you. Tonight, our journey begins with a simple truth of our universe, that there are places where the fabric of reality has been stretched to its breaking point. Places where a star, once impossibly bright, has collapsed under the weight of its own existence, creating a gravitational force so immense, so absolute, that it consumes light itself. These are not objects in the way we understand a planet or a sun. They are regions of space-time, wounds in the cosmos, where the rules of our everyday world no longer apply. They are, of course, black holes. Science understands these cosmic titans from a great distance. They are elegant solutions in an equation on a page, or ghostly shadows in an image captured by a telescope, millions of light years away. We can measure their effects on the stars that orbit them, and we can theorize about the secrets they hold within their silent depths. But tonight we will close that distance. We will set aside the charts and the numbers, and we will imagine the unimaginable. Tonight our thoughts will become the traveler. We will ask ourselves, what would it be like to not just see one of these wonders, but to fall into one? So now let go of the day. Allow your mind to quiet and your body to rest. There is nothing else you need to do, and nowhere else you need to be. Together we are about to drift out into the great, silent dark on a gentle current of curiosity. Our voyage to the edge of reality is about to begin. Out here in the interstellar deep, the silence is a presence, not an absence. It is a texture, a substance that fills the void between the far-flung islands of light we call stars. Our traveler, a solitary point of consciousness adrift in the velvet black, has journeyed for an age to reach this place. The destination is not a world, not a sun, but a location defined by what it is not. It is a void within the void, a patch of sky where the stars have been carefully, perfectly erased. At this immense distance, it appears as a simple curiosity, a small circular hole punched in the star-dusted tapestry of the Milky Way. It is a spot of perfect, featureless black, a circle of absolute nothingness that seems to drink the light of the cosmos around it. This is the first distant glimpse of a supermassive black hole. It does not yet feel like a destination. It feels like a work of art, a cosmic statement. It is so crisp, so defined, that it seems almost artificial. But as the traveler drifts closer, over the course of days and weeks, the true nature of this strange emptiness begins to reveal itself. The circle of blackness does not simply block the stars behind it. It actively commands the space around it. The light from distant galaxies, light that has traveled for millions, even billions of years on a straight and unwavering path, begins to bend as it passes by this point of unseen influence. This is the phenomenon of gravitational lensing, the first whisper of the power that resides here. Stars that should be hidden directly behind the black hole have their light warped around its edges, appearing as distorted, shimmering arcs of light. A single distant star can appear in 2, 3, or even more places at once, its image smeared into a ghostly ring, an echo of light known as an Einstein ring. The black hole acts like a cosmic magnifying glass, but one that warps and duplicates rather than clarifies. The view is serene, yet profoundly unsettling. The universe, which on a grand scale is governed by straight lines and predictable paths, is here being twisted into impossible shapes. The traveler is still at what is considered a safe distance, a shore of observation from which one could, if they chose, turn back and return to the familiar world. From this vantage point, the black hole is a subject of study, a celestial marvel, but it is a study that slowly erodes the very foundations of understanding. We are taught to think of gravity as a force, a pull that one object exerts on another. A planet pulls on a moon, a star pulls on a planet. But here, that definition feels inadequate. Einstein's vision of reality feels more intuitive, more true. Gravity is not a force, but a curvature in the very fabric of space-time. Imagine a flat, stretched sheet, a bowling ball placed in its center, creates a deep well, a dip in the fabric. A marble rolled nearby will not be pulled toward the ball, but will simply follow the curve in the sheet, spiraling inward. So it is here. This black hole is not an object, it is a place. It is a region of space-time, where a star, many millions of times the mass of our own sun, has collapsed under its own impossible weight, creating a well of gravity so deep, so steep, that the fabric of reality has effectively torn. The blackness is not a surface, it is the opening to a path from which there is no return. The traveler is floating on the gentle outer slopes of this cosmic waterfall, still far from the edge, where the current becomes irresistible. The silence here is deeper now, the hum of distant cosmic radiation, the faint chatter of radio waves from faraway nebula, all of it seems to be muted, hushed in the presence of this silent behemoth. The sense of scale is difficult for the mind to process. The black hole itself, the region within its point of no return, might be millions of kilometers across, yet it is invisible. What is visible, what gives it scale, is the way it commands the cosmos around it. The distorted starlight, the warped tapestry of the galaxy, all of it serves to outline the sheer gravitational dominance of this unseen entity. The traveler's vessel, a tiny speck of machinery and life, is utterly insignificant here. It is a single grain of sand on the shore of an infinite ocean, and that ocean is flowing, ever so slowly, toward a single dark point. The journey to this place was one of active propulsion, of burning fuel and charting courses. But the next stage of the journey will be one of surrender. It will be a commitment to simply float, to become a part of the current, and to follow the curve of space-time down into the heart of the mystery. From this distant shore, the view is one of sublime, terrifying beauty. It is the beauty of fundamental forces laid bare, of the architecture of the universe, revealed in all its awesome and indifferent grandeur. The traveler watches and waits as the slow, silent ballet of warped light continues, a final, distant preamble to the plunge that awaits. As our traveler drifts closer, drawn forward not by engines but by the inexorable, gentle slope of space-time, a new feature begins to dominate the view. It starts as a faint, shimmering halo around the central darkness, a delicate ring of light that seems impossibly thin and fragile from a great distance. But with each passing day, this halo grows in size and intensity, resolving itself into one of the most violent and spectacular phenomena in the entire universe. The accretion disk. This is the last outpost of familiar matter, the final, brilliant farewell of anything unfortunate enough to be caught in the black hole's grasp. It is a vast, flat, spinning platter of dust, gas, and the incandescent remains of stars that have wandered too close. These materials, pulled from nearby nebula, or stripped from suns by the black hole's immense tidal forces, do not fall straight in. Instead, they are caught in orbit, spiraling inward like water circling a drain. The sheer scale of this structure is breathtaking. It stretches for billions of kilometers, a cosmic record spinning at velocities approaching the speed of light. The material in the outer regions of the disk orbits relatively slowly, a stately, luminous river. But as it spirals closer to the center, its speed increases exponentially. This difference in velocity between the inner and outer layers creates an unimaginable amount of friction. Particles of dust and gas, entire clouds of hydrogen, are rubbed against each other with such ferocious energy that they are heated to millions of degrees. The result is a structure that glows with an intensity that can outshine its entire host galaxy. The accretion disk is not merely bright, it is a torrent of pure raw energy, blasting radiation across the electromagnetic spectrum, from radio waves to the most energetic gamma rays. From the traveler's perspective, it is a fiery, celestial waltz. Rivers of plasma, brighter than 1,000 suns, flow in intricate, braided patterns. Vast, superheated storms, larger than our entire solar system, rage across its surface, creating flares of light that arc high above the disk before being pulled back down by the ferocious gravity. The colors are unlike anything seen in the gentle light of a home star. They are the fierce electric blues of ionized oxygen, the deep, violent crimsons of superheated hydrogen, and the blinding white-hot glare of matter on the verge of being torn apart. This is not the gentle fire of a hearth. It is the raw, untamed energy of creation and destruction, happening on a scale that defies terrestrial comparison. The disk is so bright that it completely overwhelms the quiet backdrop of the distant stars. It is a self-contained universe of light, a blazing wall that separates the knowable cosmos from the utter blackness that lies at its center. And yet, for all its violence, there is a strange and hypnotic order to it. It is a system governed by the elegant laws of orbital mechanics and thermodynamics, magnified to an incredible extreme. The traveler can see shockwaves propagating through the disk, visible as ripples of light, where a recently captured asteroid or a cloud of gas impacts the structure and is instantly vaporized, its substance added to the fiery dance. The disk is not silent. It sings a song of immense power, a roar of electromagnetic radiation that, if converted to sound, would be the loudest thing in the universe. To the traveler's senses, it is a symphony of screaming static, the combined death cries of countless suns and worlds being consumed over eons. This spectacle is the black hole's visible signature, the evidence of its insatiable appetite. It is the last point at which matter exists in a form we might recognize. Beyond this swirling luminous chaos lies the boundary, the point of no return. The accretion disk is a final glorious beacon, a warning and an invitation. It is the light of 1,000,000,000,000 candles burning at the edge of an infinite abyss, a last, defiant shout against the encroaching silence. The traveler floats, mesmerized by this fiery waltz, watching the raw material of the cosmos perform its last, desperate and beautiful dance, before disappearing forever from our universe of light and form. The heat radiating from it can be felt even at this distance, a faint warmth on the hull of the ship, a final physical connection to the world of energy and matter, before the plunge into a realm governed by gravity alone. Leaving the brilliant plane of the accretion disk behind, our traveler descends further, entering a region of profound and surreal strangeness. The universe begins to look less and less like the one we know. Here, closer to the abyss, gravity is no longer just a powerful influence. It is the absolute master of all things, including light itself. The traveler is now approaching a theoretical boundary known as the photon sphere. This is not a physical surface, but an orbital distance, a place so close to the black hole that gravity is precisely strong enough to bend the path of a photon, a single particle of light, into a complete circle. Light that enters this region at just the right angle does not escape, nor does it fall immediately in. Instead, it is trapped in orbit, destined to circle the black hole forever, or at least until a slight perturbation sends it either spiraling into the abyss or flying away into space. The visual experience from within this sphere is beyond human intuition. Imagine looking in any direction. The light you see from a distant star might not have traveled in a straight line to reach your eyes. It may have approached the black hole, been captured by the photon sphere, circled it once, twice, or 1,000 times, before being nudged just enough to escape its orbit and travel to you. This means the sky is no longer a simple map of the cosmos. It becomes a hall of mirrors, distorted and duplicated in impossible ways. A single galaxy might appear as a series of concentric rings of light, each ring representing a different orbital path its light took around the black hole. The entire visible universe, the backdrop of stars and nebula, is warped into a bewildering, repeating pattern that covers the sky. Even more bizarre is the theoretical possibility of seeing oneself. If the traveler were to turn and look away from the black hole, the light leaving the back of their own head could in principle travel all the way around the black hole and arrive back at their eyes. The view would be of their own form, faint and ghostly, hanging in the star-dusted darkness before them. It is a perfect and terrifying feedback loop, a place where past and present visual information are scrambled, where cause and effect in the realm of light begin to break down. The photon sphere is a shimmering, ethereal shell of trapped light, a ghost of all the things that have ever shone in the universe, their last rays caught in this eternal gravitational dance. The traveler is now passing through this region, and the effect is dizzying. The black hole ahead is no longer just a circle of blackness. It now appears larger than it should, its gravitational lensing effect magnified to an extreme. The circle of night at its center is now surrounded by a thin, brilliant ring of light. This is the photon sphere itself, the edge-on view of all the trapped light rays orbiting at this critical distance. It is a perfect razor-thin circle of pure white light, the last possible orbit for light before the fall becomes inevitable. As the traveler looks down toward the black hole, the lensing effect creates a profound illusion. The entire celestial sphere, the whole of the starry sky, appears to be compressed into a smaller and smaller window. The darkness of the black hole seems to swell, pushing the familiar universe of stars away into a shrinking circle of light. Inside this sphere, the laws of optics are rewritten. A beam of light from the traveler's ship, shone straight ahead, would not travel in a straight line. Its path would be bent, curved by the warped space-time. Navigating here by sight would be impossible. The direction you think you are looking is not the direction the light is actually coming from. It is a place of pure geometric illusion, where the shortest distance between 2 points is a complex, looping curve. The traveler, now in a state of pure freefall, is simply passing through this region, an observer to its madness. They are inside the cosmic funhouse mirror, and the view in every direction is a cascade of repeating, distorted images of the universe they left behind. The experience is profoundly disorienting, a visual representation of the breakdown of familiar physical laws. The photon sphere is a final chaotic boundary, a last shimmering curtain of light before the traveler crosses the ultimate threshold into the true dark. It is a place made of pure light, yet it serves as the final gateway to a place where no light can ever escape. As the traveler continues the silent descent, a new and even more profound transformation begins to occur, one that cannot be seen or felt, but which alters the very foundation of existence. This is the onset of extreme gravitational time dilation. It is a core prediction of Einstein's theory of relativity, and here, in the deep well of a supermassive black hole's gravity, it is no longer a subtle theoretical effect. It is an overwhelming reality. The principle is surprisingly simple to grasp. Gravity, the curvature of space-time, affects not only the path of objects moving through space, but the flow of time itself. The stronger the gravity, the slower time passes. For the traveler, deep within this gravitational field, the ticking of a clock, the beating of a heart, the decay of an atom, every process that marks the passage of time, begins to slow down relative to a clock, in a place with weaker gravity, like our own Earth. At first the effect is negligible, a second lost over a year, a minute over a century. But as the vessel falls deeper closer to the event horizon, the rate of this temporal stretching accelerates exponentially. For the traveler inside their vessel, time feels perfectly normal. A minute is still a minute. A thought takes the same subjective duration to form. The rhythm of their own existence feels unchanged. They are completely unaware of the temporal schism that is opening up between them and the rest of the universe. But for a hypothetical observer, watching from a safe distance, a dramatic and eerie spectacle unfolds. Through a powerful telescope, they would see the traveler's vessel slowing down, not in its speed through space. It is in fact accelerating, but in its progression through time. Its movements would appear to become more and more sluggish, as if it were sinking into cosmic molasses. A wave from the traveler, taking a second of their time, might take a full minute to unfold for the distant observer. An hour later, from the traveler's perspective, another 1 second wave might take a whole day to complete from the observer's viewpoint. The light from the vessel also begins to change. As it struggles to climb out of the increasingly steep gravitational well, it loses energy. This loss of energy shifts its frequency toward the red end of the spectrum, a phenomenon known as gravitational redshift. The vessel, once a clear point of light, would appear to grow dimmer and redder, its image fading as if it were receding at an incredible speed, even though it is simply falling deeper. For our traveler, the experience is one of peaceful isolation. The universe they are watching through their viewport begins to speed up. The stately, slow dance of distant stars and galaxies accelerates into a frantic blur. Stars are born, burn through their fuel, and die in what seems like minutes. Nebulae coalesce and dissipate like puffs of smoke. Entire galaxies, which take billions of years to rotate, might complete a full turn in the time it takes the traveler to have a meal. They are witnessing the life of the cosmos on fast forward. A minute for them becomes an hour for the universe. An hour becomes a century. A day for the traveler could be a millennium for the rest of existence. This creates a profound and irreversible disconnection. Any message sent back to their homeworld would arrive in a future so distant it would be unrecognizable. They have, in a very real sense, traveled into the future, but a future they can never rejoin. They have become a temporal island, adrift in a river of time that is now rushing past them at an ever-increasing speed. This stretching of moments is a quiet, contemplative phase of the journey. It is a meditation on the nature of time itself. Is time a universal constant, an absolute river that carries all things forward at the same rate? Or is it personal, malleable, and dependent on one's place in the cosmos? Here, the answer is clear. Time is local. The traveler's time is now their own, decoupled from the great clock of the universe. They are in a bubble of slow-moving moments, watching eternity unfold outside their window. The sense of urgency, of a fall toward an end, is replaced by a strange sense of timelessness. While the universe outside is aging into oblivion, the traveler is suspended in a prolonged, serene present. It is the ultimate form of solitude, not just separated by space, but by the very flow of existence. This gentle warping of time is the universe's final, quiet farewell, a stretching of the last goodbye into an eon. There comes a moment in this journey when observation must end, and the final, irrevocable act must be taken. The traveler has witnessed the bending of light and the stretching of time. They have seen the universe from a perspective no other has ever known. Now they face the ultimate boundary, the event horizon, which lies just ahead. To cross it is to make a final commitment, to surrender completely to the laws of this extreme environment. In a quiet, deliberate sequence, the traveler shuts down all remaining propulsion systems. The low hum of the engines fades into absolute silence. The guiding thrusters cease their gentle corrections. The vessel is now pure, unpowered mass, its trajectory governed by one thing, and one thing only, the curvature of space-time. It is now in a state of perfect freefall. This moment is one of profound peace. According to Einstein's principle of equivalence, the effects of gravity are locally indistinguishable from the effects of acceleration. An astronaut in a rocket accelerating through empty space feels a force pushing them into their seat, just as we feel gravity pinning us to the Earth. But the reverse is also true. An object in freefall, with no engines firing and no air resistance, experiences perfect weightlessness. An astronaut inside a falling elevator or orbiting the Earth floats freely. They feel no force of gravity at all, because they and their vessel are falling together, perfectly synchronized. This is the state of our traveler now. Despite being in the grip of the most powerful gravitational field imaginable, they feel nothing. They are utterly, completely weightless. There is no sense of falling, no stomach-lurching drop. The feeling is one of serene, effortless drifting. It is a silent, gentle coasting through the void. This act of shutting down the engines is more than a technical procedure. It is a philosophical surrender. It is an acceptance that the journey from this point forward cannot be fought. Any attempt to fire engines to escape would be futile, like a swimmer trying to fight the current of a powerful river by splashing their hands. The energy required to pull away from the event horizon would be infinite. The only path is the path of least resistance, the geodesic, which is the straightest possible line through curved space-time. And that line leads inexorably inward. This decision is the final severing of the link to a universe of choice and control. From now on, the traveler is no longer a pilot, but a passenger. They have relinquished the tiller and have placed their trust in the fundamental geometry of the cosmos. The vessel drifts. The only sound is the quiet hum of life support and the traveler's own steady breath. Outside, the view is becoming increasingly strange. The window to the external universe, the circle of sped-up starlight, is shrinking, constricted by the extreme gravity. The blackness ahead is growing, consuming more and more of the sky. It is no longer a distant circle. It is a vast, dark hemisphere, an endless night that is rising up to meet them. There is a quiet beauty in this moment of finality. It is the calm before the storm, though there will be no storm in a conventional sense. There will be no impact, no collision, no violent explosion. The transition will be subtle, silent, and for the traveler, completely imperceptible. This phase of the journey is a meditation on inertia and surrender. We spend our lives fighting against forces, pushing against gravity, struggling against the currents of our world. But here the ultimate act is to cease all struggle. It is to align oneself with the most powerful force in nature, and to become one with its flow. The traveler is a leaf caught in a cosmic stream, and the stream is flowing toward the heart of the waterfall. There is no fear, only a profound sense of curiosity and a quiet awe. The commitment has been made. The ship is dark and silent, a ghost vessel on a final, unpowered voyage. It drifts toward the invisible line, the precipice of space-time, with the gentle, dreamlike peace of complete and utter surrender. The engines are off. The die is cast. The universe holds its breath, and the silent fall continues. The moment arrives. The traveler's vessel, in its state of serene, weightless freefall, drifts across the threshold. This is the event horizon, the point of no return. In stories and in our collective imagination, this is a moment of high drama, a cataclysmic transition. We might picture a shimmering wall of energy, a violent gateway, or a sudden jarring lurch. But the reality, according to our understanding of physics, is far more subtle, and in its own way far more terrifying. For the traveler, the moment of crossing is utterly, completely, and profoundly unremarkable. There is no signpost in the vacuum of space that says, "You are now entering the black hole." There is no flash of light, no shudder through the ship's frame, no sensation of passing through a membrane. The silent, weightless, peaceful freefall continues without any change whatsoever. The traveler could be sipping a cup of tea, and they would not spill a single drop. This is because the event horizon is not a physical object. It is a purely geometric boundary, a one-way door in space-time. It is the location where the curvature of space-time becomes so extreme that the escape velocity, the speed needed to pull away from the gravitational field, exceeds the speed of light. Since nothing can travel faster than light, anything that crosses this line is trapped forever. But for the person or object doing the crossing, who is not attempting to escape but is simply falling with gravity, the local physics remain unchanged. The principle of equivalence holds true. The traveler is still in a perfect state of freefall, feeling no forces at all. The laws of motion, of chemistry, of biology, all continue to function precisely as they did just moments before. The transition is seamless, invisible, and silent. The door has closed and locked behind them, but they never even heard it click. The true drama of this moment exists only for the outside universe. For that distant hypothetical observer watching through their telescope, the traveler's fate is entirely different. As the vessel approaches the event horizon, the observer sees the effects of time dilation and redshift reach their infinite extreme. The traveler's movements appear to slow down, stretching out over longer and longer periods of time. The ship's image grows dimmer and redder, its light struggling to escape the immense gravity. At the exact moment the traveler crosses the horizon, from the observer's perspective, their image seems to freeze. It becomes a static, frozen picture, plastered against the edge of the black hole. The light that makes up this final image is redshifted into oblivion, fading through red, to infrared, to microwave, to radio waves, becoming fainter and fainter until it is utterly undetectable. The traveler to the outside world is simultaneously frozen in time and faded from existence. They are a ghost image, an afterglow of an event that for them has already passed. They are forever a part of the boundary, a permanent fading monument to the point of no return. But for our traveler, this is all academic. They are inside. They have passed the point where any signal, any light, any information of any kind can ever report back to the universe they left behind. They are fundamentally and irrevocably severed from the rest of space-time. The past is still accessible. They can still see the shrinking window of the external universe behind them. But the future no longer contains any path that leads back out. The experience is a strange paradox, a moment of ultimate significance that is experienced as a complete non-event. It is a quiet, existential horror masked by a profound sense of peace. The traveler might not even know for certain that they have crossed. They can only infer it by observing the effects on the light around them. The distorted image of the universe behind them is now warping in ever more extreme ways. The journey continues, deeper into the dark, but the nature of that journey has now fundamentally changed. They are no longer falling through space. They are now falling with space. The very fabric of reality is flowing inward, and the traveler is simply along for the ride. The silent, weightless drift goes on, but now it has a destination from which there is no appeal, and a direction from which there is no turning back. Having crossed the event horizon, the traveler finds themselves in a realm where the fundamental rules of existence have been rewritten. The change is not something that can be seen or touched, but it is the most absolute and powerful change imaginable. Outside the black hole in the universe we know, we are free to move in any of the three spatial dimensions. We can go forward or backward, left or right, up or down. Our movement through time, however, is not a choice. We are carried inexorably forward into the future, moment by moment. Time is the dimension through which we have no choice but to travel. Inside the event horizon, this relationship between space and time is radically inverted. Here, the crushing gravity and the extreme curvature of space-time have caused the roles of space and time to swap. The singularity, the infinitely dense point at the center of the black hole, is no longer a location in space. It has become a moment in time. It is the future. And just as we on the outside cannot avoid moving into our own future, the traveler inside the black hole cannot avoid moving toward the singularity. The direction we call inward or down has ceased to be a spatial direction. It is now the temporal direction of forward. All possible paths, every conceivable trajectory the traveler could take, now leads to one single, inevitable destination, the singularity at the center. This is a concept so profound it borders on the incomprehensible. Imagine the traveler attempting to escape. They re-engage their ship's engines, pointing them away from the center, and fire them at maximum power. What happens? They do not move outward. They do not even slow their descent. In fact, by firing their engines, they are expending energy and moving faster into their own future. And since the singularity is the future of everything inside the event horizon, firing their engines only hastens their arrival at the central point of annihilation. Trying to escape the singularity is quite literally like trying to stop next Tuesday from arriving by running in the opposite direction. It is a logical and physical impossibility. The very fabric of space-time is flowing inward toward the center, faster than the speed of light. To escape would require moving faster than this inward rush of reality itself, a violation of the most fundamental speed limit in the cosmos. So the dimensions of choice have changed. The traveler can still move left or right, up or down, relative to their immediate surroundings. They have freedom in what were once the spatial dimensions, but all of these movements are simply small variations on a journey whose final destination is already written. They are like a person on a train. They can walk to the front of the car or to the back, but the train is still moving toward the next station. Here, the station is the end of time itself. This new reality is not felt as a force. The traveler remains in a state of perfect weightlessness, feeling no pull, no acceleration. The change is in the geometry of their possible futures. All roads now lead to one place. The traveler is now truly and utterly trapped, not by walls or by forces, but by the very nature of space-time in this region. The word trapped implies a desire to escape, but perhaps at this stage, that desire has faded, replaced by an all-consuming curiosity to see where this impossible river of reality leads. The journey continues in the dark. The ship is a tiny bubble of local, familiar physics, floating on a current of warped space-time, that is carrying it toward its doom. There is no longer any up or down in the conventional sense, only past and future. The past is the shrinking image of the universe behind them. The future is the singularity ahead of them. And the present is this continuous, silent, weightless fall through a reality where space has become time, and time has become the path to oblivion. The rules have changed. The game is over, and all that remains is to witness the final, inevitable move. The very concept of direction has been funneled into a single, inescapable vector, pointing toward the end. In the strange inverted reality inside the event horizon, a truly breathtaking spectacle begins to unfold. As the traveler continues their fall, the view of the external universe, which had been shrinking into a small, distorted circle of light, undergoes a final, remarkable transformation. Because of the extreme curvature of space-time and the bizarre effects of time dilation, the traveler is now in a position to witness something extraordinary. They can see the future of the universe they left behind. Light from events that have not yet happened, from our perspective, can travel toward the black hole and cross the event horizon to reach the traveler before they reach the singularity. And because the traveler's own time is passing so slowly compared to the universe outside, they perceive cosmic history unfolding at an incredible speed. The small window of light behind them becomes a celestial movie screen, playing the entire future history of the cosmos in fast forward. At first, it is the familiar dance of stars and nebula, but accelerated. Star systems that take hundreds of millions of years to orbit their galactic centers, complete their circuits in what seems like minutes. But as the fall continues, the timescale of events they are witnessing grows longer and longer. They see stars that were young when they began their journey, age rapidly, swelling into red giants and then collapsing into white dwarfs, or exploding in brilliant, silent flashes of supernova. The nebula left behind by these stellar deaths then slowly coalesce into new generations of stars, which themselves live and die in this accelerated cosmic pageant. The view is one of frantic, constant change. The familiar constellations of their home sky are torn apart, their stars moving in chaotic, sped-up orbits. The Milky Way galaxy itself, a majestic spiraling river of light, begins to visibly turn, and then, over a timescale that is still just a few moments of the traveler's own experience, they witness grander events. They see our neighboring galaxy Andromeda, which is on a collision course with our own, grow larger and larger in the sky. The two great spirals begin to merge, not in a violent crash, but in a graceful gravitational dance that lasts for what would be hundreds of millions of years, but for the traveler is a mesmerizing, silent ballet. Stars are flung out into intergalactic space, and the two galaxies intertwine, their structures disrupted until they eventually settle into a new, larger, elliptical galaxy. As the fall nears its end, the time dilation becomes even more extreme. The traveler now witnesses the very end of the age of stars. They watch as the last long-lived red dwarf stars slowly flicker and die out, plunging the universe into a long, dark twilight. The galaxies themselves dissolve as their orbits decay over trillions of years. All that remains are the degenerate remnants, black holes, neutron stars, and cold white dwarfs. And then even these begin to fade. The traveler might even witness the theoretical end of the universe itself. Perhaps they see the slow, cold heat death, where all energy dissipates and all processes cease, leaving a cold, uniform, and eternal darkness. Or perhaps they see some other, more exotic fate. This vision is all concentrated into a single, shrinking point of intensely bright, blue-shifted light. As the external light falls into the black hole after the traveler, it gains an enormous amount of energy, shifting its color to the blue and even the gamma-ray end of the spectrum. So, this window to eternity is not a gentle, colorful movie. It is a blindingly brilliant point of light, a concentrated beam containing the images of all of future time. For the traveler, the last moments of their existence are spent watching the entire lifespan of the cosmos, from the age of brilliant stars to the final, cold embers of reality, play out in a silent, dazzling flash. It is the ultimate cosmic perspective, a final, fleeting glimpse of everything that ever was, and everything that ever will be, all seen in the final moments of a one-way journey. They have become the ultimate historian, the sole witness to the end of time, a spectacle reserved only for those who have taken the final plunge into darkness. While the traveler is witnessing the grand spectacle of cosmic history, a new and deeply personal process is beginning to take hold. It starts subtly, almost imperceptibly. It is not a force that can be seen, or a sound that can be heard, but a gentle, persistent sensation within the traveler's own body and the structure of their vessel. This is the onset of tidal forces, the grim prelude to the process known as spaghettification. The physics behind it are straightforward, yet the consequences are absolute. The force of gravity is not uniform. It weakens with distance. For an object of any size, like our traveler or their ship, falling into a black hole, the part of the object closer to the singularity is pulled by a slightly, but significantly, stronger gravitational force than the part that is farther away. Imagine our traveler falling feet first toward the center. The gravitational pull on their feet is now measurably stronger than the gravitational pull on their head. This difference in force creates a stretching effect. At first, it is far too gentle to be noticed. It might be registered only by the most sensitive instruments on board the ship, detecting a minute strain in the vessel's superstructure. The ship, a rigid object designed to withstand the vacuum of space, is now being subjected to a tension it was never built to endure. The front of the ship is being pulled away from the back of the ship with ever-increasing insistence. For the traveler within, the sensation begins as a faint feeling of lightness in their head and a slight heaviness in their feet. It is not uncomfortable, merely strange. It might feel like a gentle full-body massage, a pleasant and soothing pull along the length of their spine. They are being elongated, stretched by the very geometry of the space they occupy. This process is inexorable, and it is accelerating. As they fall deeper, the difference in gravity across their body increases exponentially. The gentle stretching becomes a more insistent pull. The joints in their limbs feel loose, as if they are being gently drawn from their sockets. The vertebrae in their spine begin to separate, making them fractionally taller. At the same time, a perpendicular force begins to act upon them. While they are being stretched vertically, the space on either side of them is also converging toward the central point. This means that they are being compressed from the sides. Their shoulders, their hips, everything is being squeezed inward. So, the process is twofold: a powerful stretching along the direction of the fall, and a crushing compression from all other sides. The traveler is being shaped by space-time itself, molded into a long, thin form. This phase of the journey is a slow, methodical deconstruction. It is profoundly different from any other kind of destruction. It is not a collision or an explosion, which are chaotic and instantaneous. This is an orderly, geometric, and silent unraveling. The forces at play are not external pressures, but are woven into the very fabric of their reality. There is nothing to push against, nothing to fight. The traveler and their ship are simply conforming to the extreme curvature of the space they inhabit. The faint creaks of the ship's hull are the first audible signs of this cosmic tide. The metallic plates groan under the strain, not from impact, but from the silent, relentless pull of differential gravity. The rivets begin to pop, not from an explosion, but because the metal on one side of the rivet is being pulled away from the metal on the other. The initial gentle tide is becoming a powerful, irresistible current, and the slow, inevitable process of being unmade has begun. The feeling is no longer pleasant. It is a deep, fundamental ache, the feeling of one's own physical form beginning to fail under the quiet, relentless pressure of a warped universe. The tidal forces, which began as a subtle, almost gentle stretching, have now intensified to a point of overwhelming power. The process of spaghettification is no longer a gentle onset. It is a relentless, geometric deconstruction. The traveler's vessel, a marvel of engineering designed to protect its occupant from the vacuum and radiation of space, is now the first to succumb. It is not torn apart by a single catastrophic event, but is unraveled thread by thread by the warping of space itself. The front of the ship is now accelerating toward the singularity so much faster than the rear that the structural integrity of the hull can no longer hold it together. Imagine a long metal beam. Pulled from both ends it will resist, but eventually the tensile strength of the metal will be overcome, and it will snap. But here, every single atom of the beam is being pulled with a slightly different force than its neighbor, so it does not snap. It flows. The ship begins to deform in a slow, dreamlike and horrifying manner. Bulkheads warp and stretch, corridors elongate, becoming long, thin tunnels. The very metal of the hull begins to thin out, drawn like taffy, as the atomic bonds that hold it in a solid lattice are stretched to their breaking point. There is no explosion, only a silent, ductile failure. The ship comes apart in a stream of components, each piece itself being stretched and compressed as it continues its fall. The control panels, the engine components, the life support systems, all are separated and elongated, forming a river of debris that flows inward. The traveler, now exposed to the raw vacuum within the event horizon, experiences this same unraveling on a biological level. The description of this process must necessarily be abstract, for the experience is beyond any human frame of reference. The stretching force has now surpassed the strength of the chemical bonds that hold complex molecules together. The tissues of the body, skin, muscle, bone, can no longer maintain their structure. The human form, a complex and resilient biological machine, is subjected to a force that it was never meant to encounter. The bonds between cells fail first. The traveler feels a sense of dissolution, of their own physical coherence coming undone. It is not painful in the way we understand pain, which is a signal from our nervous system about localized damage. This is a global, systemic failure. Every part of the body is experiencing the same inexorable pull. The force differential is now so extreme that it acts on the scale of individual molecules. The complex proteins and DNA strands that form the basis of life are unzipped, their long chains of atoms pulled apart by the gravitational gradient. The very architecture of life is being deconstructed. The body is no longer a single coherent organism. It is being resolved into its constituent organic chemistry, a flowing stream of complex molecules that are themselves being stretched and simplified. The compression from the sides is equally intense. The stream of matter becomes narrower and narrower, squeezed into a filament of unimaginable thinness and density. This is the great unraveling. It is the ultimate triumph of gravity over the other fundamental forces of nature. The electromagnetic force, which binds atoms into molecules and gives matter its form and structure, is being decisively overpowered. The intricate, complex structure of a human being, the result of billions of years of evolution, is being systematically dismantled by the pure, simple geometry of curved space-time. There is no malice in this process, no violence in the conventional sense. It is as impersonal and as fundamental as a mathematical equation working its way to a solution. The solution in this case is the reduction of complexity to simplicity. Form is unraveling into substance. The traveler, a being of thought, consciousness, and intricate biology, is being returned to a state of primitive, unorganized matter, stretched across the fabric of a hostile reality. The last vestiges of their physical form are dissolving into the growing stream, a silent testament to the absolute power of the tide. The process of spaghettification reaches its final, absolute conclusion. The unraveling of form is complete. The tidal forces, now increasing with every infinitesimal moment of the fall, have overcome not just the bonds between cells and molecules, but the bonds within the atoms themselves. The electron shells that surround the atomic nuclei are stripped away. The very definition of matter as we know it, protons, neutrons, and electrons bound together in stable familiar elements like carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, ceases to hold. The traveler is no longer a body, no longer a collection of organic molecules. They have been reduced to a stream of fundamental particles. This is dissolution in its most profound sense. The entity that was the traveler, their memories, their thoughts, their consciousness, all encoded in the complex neural network of their brain, has been erased. The information that constituted their identity has been scrambled and destroyed by the violent gravitational gradient. All the complexity and structure that defined them as a living being has been smoothed out, averaged away, and returned to a state of fundamental simplicity. What remains is a thin, hot, and incredibly long filament of subatomic particles, quarks, leptons, gluons, all flowing in a silent single-file line toward the center. The traveler's ship has met the same fate. The advanced alloys, the complex electronics, the fuel, Everything has been similarly decomposed. The ship and its pilot are now indistinguishable, merged into a single, unified stream of elementary particles. This phase of the journey is a meditation on the loss of information and the nature of existence. What are we if not a specific complex arrangement of particles? When that arrangement is destroyed, what is left? The matter remains, of course. The fundamental constituents, the atoms that were once forged in the hearts of distant stars, are still present. But the form, the pattern, the information that made that matter into a thinking, feeling being, is gone. It is like taking a magnificent sandcastle, a work of intricate art and design, and allowing the wind to blow it away until all that is left is a smooth, featureless dune. The sand is all still there, but the castle is gone forever. The stream of particles continues its fall. It is now unimaginably long and thin. A filament that was once a human being might now be stretched over thousands of kilometers, yet be narrower than a single atom. It glows with incredible energy. As the particles are squeezed and accelerated, they radiate high-energy photons, creating a shimmering, incandescent thread that plunges into the darkness. But there is no one left to witness this faint, final light. Consciousness has ceased. The observer is gone, having become part of the observed phenomenon. The journey that began with a mind full of curiosity and wonder has ended with that mind's complete and total physical annihilation. The stream flows onward, a silent, ghostly river of what used to be. It carries with it the last remnants of a story, the elemental building blocks of a life, now stripped of all meaning and context. This is the ultimate entropy, the inevitable slide from order to disorder, accelerated to an almost instantaneous conclusion. In the grand, indifferent theater of the cosmos, a complex structure has been simplified. An anomaly of low entropy we call life has been returned to the high entropy state of thermal equilibrium. The journey of the individual is over. The journey of their constituent particles, however, is about to enter its final stage, as the stream approaches the greatest mystery of all, the singularity itself. The silent, glowing thread of atoms and subatomic particles is all that remains, a final, fleeting scar on the dark heart of space-time. As the incandescent stream of particles, the last remnant of our traveler and their vessel, falls ever deeper, the final connection to the outside universe is severed. The window to eternity, that brilliant point of blue-shifted light which contained the entire future history of the cosmos, begins to constrict and fade. The light from the external universe, even with all its energy gained from falling into the gravitational well, can no longer penetrate the increasingly warped and compressed space-time, this deep inside the black hole. The particles are now falling faster than the light that is trying to catch up to them from behind. The effect is akin to a final sunset, but one of cosmic proportions. The brilliant point of light, which had been the only source of illumination, shrinks to a tiny pinprick, and then in a final silent flash, winks out of existence. With its disappearance, a new state is achieved. Absolute, perfect darkness. This is not the familiar darkness of a moonless night on Earth, which is still filled with the faint glow of distant stars and atmospheric haze. This is a complete and total absence of photons, an utter blackness that is absolute and pure. There is no up, no down, no forward, no back, no external reference of any kind. The stream of particles is now falling through a space-time that is devoid of any landmarks. The journey continues in this state of pure sensory deprivation. The universe is gone. Light is gone. All that exists is the inward flow of space-time itself, and the stream of particles carried upon it. The geometry of this inner space is becoming more and more extreme. Space is being compressed to an unimaginable degree. The stream of particles, already impossibly thin, is squeezed even further. Time for these particles is also behaving in strange ways. The final moments before reaching the singularity are stretched, but not in the way time was stretched for the observer. Here it is the very nature of time's flow that is being distorted as it approaches its own end. The darkness is not empty. It is filled with the extreme curvature of space-time. While invisible, this curvature is the defining feature of the environment. The particles follow their geodesics, their paths of least resistance, through this warped geometry. But these paths are all converging, funneling down toward a single, inevitable point. The silent plunge is a journey into the heart of pure geometry, a descent through a landscape made not of matter or energy, but of the mathematical structure of reality itself, pushed to its absolute limit. What would this feel like if a consciousness could somehow survive to this point? It would be the ultimate form of claustrophobia, a sense of the universe closing in from all sides, a feeling of being crushed not by physical walls, but by the shrinking of space itself. And yet, because the stream is in perfect freefall, there would be no sensation of force. It is a paradox, a state of being simultaneously crushed by the universe and feeling perfectly, weightlessly serene. The plunge into darkness is the final act of isolation. The traveler, now reduced to their fundamental components, has left the universe of light and stars and has entered a new realm, a pocket of space-time sealed off from the rest of reality, where the only law is convergence and the only destination is the end. The final moments of the fall take place in this profound, featureless and absolute night, a silent, inexorable journey toward the heart of the abyss. The darkness is not an obstacle, it is the destination, it is the raw state of reality, from which everything will be unmade. In the absolute darkness, the stream of fundamental particles continues its final, inexorable plunge. It is now approaching the destination toward which everything inside the event horizon must travel. It is approaching the singularity. This is the term our science has given to the ultimate unknown, the very center of the black hole, and it represents a place or a moment where our current understanding of the universe completely and utterly breaks down. According to Einstein's theory of general relativity, the theory that has so accurately described the traveler's journey thus far, the singularity is a point of zero volume and infinite density. It is a place where the entire mass of the collapsed star and everything that has ever fallen into the black hole is crushed into a geometric point that has no dimension. Here, at this single point, the curvature of space-time becomes infinite. The tidal forces that stretch the traveler into a stream of atoms become infinitely strong. The density of matter becomes infinite. The laws of physics as we know them, the elegant equations of general relativity that describe gravity as the curve of space-time, produce nonsensical answers. They result in division by zero, a mathematical signpost that the theory itself has reached its limit and can go no further. General relativity, our best guide to the cosmos on a grand scale, admits its own defeat at the heart of a black hole. It tells us that this is the end of the line for physics, as we understand it. But nature, it is believed, does not permit true infinities. The concept of a point of infinite density is likely a signal that another theory must take over, a theory that we do not yet fully possess. Physicists believe that to truly understand the singularity, we need a complete theory of quantum gravity, one that can unite the world of the very large general relativity with the world of the very small quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics tells us that on the very smallest scales, reality is fuzzy and uncertain. A particle's position and momentum cannot be known with perfect precision. It is possible, then, that the singularity is not an infinitely small point after all. As the stream of particles approaches this final state, quantum effects would begin to dominate. The very fabric of space-time, which we imagine as smooth and continuous, might, on this ultra-microscopic scale, become a chaotic, bubbling foam of quantum fluctuations. Perhaps the singularity is not a point, but a region where space-time itself dissolves into a probabilistic haze, a space-time foam. In this view, the classical idea of a single defined point gives way to a more complex and bizarre reality. What lies at the end of this journey? Speculation is all we have. Some theories, like string theory, suggest that the singularity is not an end, but a transformation. Perhaps the fundamental particles are resolved into their constituent vibrating strings of energy. Other, more exotic theories speculate that the singularity could be a gateway. Could the matter and energy that fall into a black hole be the seed of a new universe? Is it possible that the Big Bang that created our own cosmos was the result of a singularity in some parent universe? This is the concept of a white hole, a theoretical cosmic fountain that spews out matter and energy, the mathematical inverse of a black hole? Or is the truth simpler and more final? Is the singularity simply the end of existence, a place where matter, energy, space, and time are destroyed, their information content erased from the cosmos forever? As the stream of particles gets closer and closer, these questions become the only reality. The journey is no longer through space, but through the landscape of theoretical physics, approaching the border where knowledge ends and pure mystery begins. The singularity is the ultimate question mark hanging at the heart of the universe, a place that challenges our most fundamental assumptions about reality, existence, and the nature of physical law. The particles are now moments away from providing the answer, an answer that can never be reported back, an answer that will be known only in the final, fleeting instant of non-existence. The stream of particles, the final elemental remnant of the traveler, arrives. But it does not arrive at a place in the way we understand the word. The singularity, as predicted by general relativity, is not a location one can visit, but a moment in time that one must experience. It is the end of the timeline for anything that has crossed the event horizon. The journey concludes not with an impact, but with a cessation. Space and time, as we conceive of them, cease to exist. Imagine time as a river. For our entire existence we have been floating along its current, moving from the past, through the present, toward the future. Inside the black hole, that river narrowed and accelerated, flowing inexorably toward a great waterfall. The singularity is that waterfall, but it is not a waterfall in space. It is the waterfall at the end of the river of time itself. Upon reaching it, the particles do not hit a wall. Instead, their future simply stops. There is no after. The concept of after requires a functioning timeline, a next moments to proceed to. At the singularity, the timeline terminates. This is the most profound and difficult concept in the entire journey. We are accustomed to things ending by transforming into something else. A log burns and becomes ash and smoke. A life ends and the body decomposes, its atoms returning to the earth. There is always a continuity of substance, but at the singularity, the very framework that allows for continuity, the progression of time, is what ends. The particles in the stream do not become something else. They simply stop being. Their existence, their world line through space-time, runs into a dead end. This is a meditation on the nature of finality. In our universe, we are surrounded by cycles. Stars die and their material forms new stars. Water evaporates and returns as rain. But the journey into a black hole is not a cycle. It is a one-way path to a true and absolute end. The finality is not just for the traveler, but for the very physics that govern their existence. The density, the temperature, the curvature of space-time, all the physical quantities that describe their state, reach infinity and therefore meaninglessness. The story of the particles, a story that began in the Big Bang and included a brief, complex chapter as part of a conscious being, has its final page, and after that page, the book is empty. For the stream of particles, the moment of arrival is instantaneous. There is no prolonged experience of being at the singularity. To experience something requires time, a duration between a beginning and an end. As time itself is what is ending, the experience is compressed into an instant of zero duration. The particles are on their geodesic paths one moment, and the next moment does not exist for them. Their journey through space-time is over. The matter and energy they were composed of are added to the mass of the black hole. The black hole becomes infinitesimally heavier, its event horizon infinitesimally larger. But the intricate information that defined the traveler, their structure, their memories, their very essence, is, according to classical physics, gone. This is the ultimate conclusion of a path from which there was never any escape. It is a quiet, mathematical, and absolute finality. The journey that started with a gaze at a distant star ends here, in a place beyond space, at the very end of time. There is no echo, no remnant, only the silent, expanded mass of the victor, the black hole, which continues its patient, eternal vigil in the dark. The traveler is gone. Their substance, the fundamental particles that once formed a complex, thinking being, has been crushed into the singularity, their story seemingly terminated at the end of time. The black hole, now imperceptibly more massive, continues its silent existence, a perfect sphere of darkness against the tapestry of the distant stars. From a classical perspective, this is the end, an irreversible act of cosmic consumption. But in the strange and counterintuitive world of quantum mechanics, the story may not be quite so simple or so final. This leads us to one of the deepest puzzles in modern physics, the black hole information paradox. The laws of quantum mechanics suggest that information can never be truly destroyed. The information that defines a system, the precise state and arrangement of all its particles, might be scrambled and rearranged, but it should, in principle, always be recoverable. The complete destruction of information at a singularity would violate this fundamental tenet. So what happens to the information that defined our traveler? Is it truly lost forever, or does it somehow persist? The answer may lie in a phenomenon predicted by Stephen Hawking. Over unimaginable stretches of time, black holes are not entirely black. They glow ever so faintly, with a thermal energy now known as Hawking radiation. This is a purely quantum effect, born from the strange behavior of virtual particles at the edge of the event horizon. In the vacuum of space, pairs of particles and antiparticles are constantly popping into existence, and then immediately annihilating each other. But if a pair is created right at the event horizon, it is possible for one particle to fall into the black hole while the other escapes into space. To an outside observer, it appears as though the black hole is emitting a particle. In order to conserve energy, the black hole must lose a tiny amount of its own mass in this process. Over eons upon eons, a time frame far longer than the current age of the universe, this slow leak of energy will cause the black hole to gradually lose mass and eventually to completely evaporate in a final flash of gamma rays. Here lies the heart of the great cosmic question. When the black hole evaporates, what happens to everything that fell inside? Does the Hawking radiation that it emits over its long life somehow carry away the information of the objects it consumed? Perhaps the outgoing particles are not truly random, but are subtly encoded with the details of what was lost. The traveler's essence, their information, might be imprinted in this faint thermal whisper, broadcast back out into the cosmos in a scrambled, almost unrecognizable form. If this is true, then in a sense, nothing is ever truly lost. It is merely transformed, its information held in cosmic escrow for an age, only to be released back into the universe at the very end of time. This final thought offers a quiet, meditative comfort. The traveler's journey, though ending in physical annihilation, might not be a complete erasure. Their existence has become part of the black hole's story, their mass contributing to its gravity, their information perhaps encoded in its eventual slow decay. In the great cosmic cycle of creation and destruction, perhaps this is the ultimate form of rebirth. Not a return to life, but a return of one's fundamental information to the universe, becoming a faint, subtle echo in the vast, silent emptiness of space. The traveler is gone, but the universe, in its own strange and patient way, may yet remember them. The final question, then, is left for the quiet of the night, a soothing thought to drift upon. In a cosmos governed by conservation, is anything ever truly gone, or is it all just waiting, in one form or another, to be part of the next story, the next star, the next dawn?